On this episode of AC Designs Garage, I'm going to show you how to build this cool little porta-band stand. A lot of you guys have asked about it, and so I'm going to give you the measurements, what you need, materials. You can make it out of scrap in a quick hurry. Coming up. Alright guys, quick little run around before we blow this thing apart, and I'm going to show you how to build it, give you all the measurements, layout, thicknesses of tools, materials you need. I just wanted to, I tell you, this is my favorite tool in the shop. Dad and I use it every day. I mean, this thing's used on a daily basis. We go through blades like crazy because we're burning them up, but you can make anything. We cut anything from sheet metal to, I mean, we've cut 1/2-inch bar stock, 1-inch bar stock with it. I mean, this thing is just a workhorse, and it's a cheap and easy way because I can't afford a vertical bandsaw. This is the way to go. Plus, if you need to take it off and make it mobile, it takes like 1 minute or less than that to take this thing off its stand. So I'm going to spin that thing around and give you the model number off that porta band, and then we'll get taking it apart. All right, I got it laid down where you can see the part number. Right here's the part number on the Milwaukee. It's a 6232-20 120 volt 11 amp deep cut bandsaw. Now, I really like the Milwaukees. We use a lot of Milwaukee tools, and they last forever, and they have a pretty good price tag on them. But Harbor Freight's got that, I think it's a Bauer they call it. It's similar, comparable to it. That use it. I mean, whatever it takes to get one of these built. If you're into fabricating at all, you need this tool. I mean, we use it constantly. And I'll show you, I told you this was scrap steel. You can see where it wasn't long enough, and I had to TIG another piece to it. I mean, we just use scrap out of the scrap bin. But you can see good while we got it flipped up how it bolts up on the bottom. This is just a 1/4-inch stud welded to the bottom of it, and this is your I guess it's your rest, like if you was cutting this piece of tubing here, it goes against it on the porta band. All right guys, I'm gonna show you how super simple this thing comes apart, and then we'll just show you how it all goes back together and how we built it. One thing I like about the Milwaukees is they have a LED light built in. See if I can reach it back here. You can cut it on or off. That's pretty neat, I thought. Plus, it's going to help with taking these little set screws out. These are 1032s, and what they do is they press down on this little ledges down here, and it helps tighten. It makes it real rigid. So you just back these out, and you can level your blade or square your blade up. You know, if you add back air to the bolt, it'll tilt the blade. So you can get everything good and square, so you have good square cuts. We're going to back these out. You back your little 1032s out. You come up under here. It's still pretty loose. You just loosen this up. You can see how it drops out. And I'll set the GoPro down and show you how easy it just comes off. I mean, it's that simple. You can come off and you're back to using your porta band. It's that's the table. I mean, there's not a lot to it. I'll show you how and why it has that weird little notches and stuff. It's basically made to go up in here and fit around this tight. And I'll show you how I got that weird shape using one of my metal shaping tool, or not metal shaping, but my shape finder tool, I call it. Right here's where our little, I'll flip the stand over a minute. That's where your 1/4-inch stud goes down through, and your nut goes on the bottom. Just helps stabilize it. And right here on this shelf, that's where your little, you can probably see the marks on it, where the little 1032, these right here, that's where they go down and brace up against it. So, all right guys, we'll go over the measurements real quick. I try to lay them out before maybe if you want to pause the video and write these down. This is just my size that I use, just basically based on whatever size scrap I had. But from end to end, it's 12 3/4 inches. The cut depth to where your blade will slide in is 5 3/4 inches. And the overall, I guess the depth you want to call for the side of it is 9 inches from end to end. And this is the thickness, this is 1/4-inch plate. And I've done the legs too. The legs are 11 inches to the bottom, and this 1/4 inch plate, so it'll make it from floor or from table up to the top. It's going to be a total 11 1/4. So that's your basic measurements. I'm going to flip it over and give you where the bolt lands on here, and I'm going to show you also how to come up with this piece here, and I'll show you how it fits and where it fits into the portaband. Let me get this flipped over and we'll give you that measurement. One more quick note before I flip it over is you want to paint the top of this thing flat black or something dark, because I used to have this thing ground down nice, but we have so much light in here that it reflects black back in your face and you can't really see where it's going. So I would definitely paint this old cheap flat black or whatever you can just to cut down on glare, because it makes it where you can't really see when you're cutting with it. All right, I'm gonna help you lay out where my bolt ended up. It's best to just put the bolt in there and slide your portaband in and line it up, but I mean, you have a pretty big slot, so it's not hard to, you know, land this bolt. It's not as crucial as you think, because you got like a 4-inch slot, but I'll give you the measurements of where mine's at to the center of the bolt. So mine is 2.5 inches from the front side, which this would be the front. Your portaband goes on the back, so this would be the front side. So I'll give you, well, there's a lot of, okay, I can give you a measurement from the back side too. So that's 2.5 from the front side back, from the edge to the center line. That's 2.5. And from the back, the part that mates up to the portaband is 6 3/4 to the center line. And I don't know how centered I got it, just where it ended up. It's 6 5/8. I know I'm giving y'all a lot of measurements. I just want to make sure that y'all got plenty of, so you don't have to mess with it. You can just make it. Makes it a lot easier if you have all the measurements. From the center line is about 6 5/8 from the edge. Let's see what we got over here on this one. That's 6 1/8 on this side. So you probably don't need all these measurements. You guys can build this thing. I was just giving you what mine was. And that's about it. I'm gonna flip it back over and show you how I got my goofy little part here that goes up into the portaband. It's kind of a weird shape, and it don't have to be perfect because it don't sit perfectly up against it, but I just try to get as tight as I could. So let me get my little tool and I'll show you how that works. Here's the measurements for the bottom one more time, in case you guys want to write them down. Alright guys, here's a few of the tools that I use. I think Empire makes this one. It's like a contour gauge, I guess you can call it. But like, I use them a lot finding shapes and stuff like that on. There's just a bunch of little metal rods and stuff, but I use this to find shapes when I'm making repair panels and stuff like that for cars. And I like this one. This is also a contour shape, and I'll link these on my Amazon affiliate account. Now this plastic one's really cool. It's got magnets, but it's a little easier. I use these on painted surfaces. If I got to check and make something on a painted surface, these won't scratch. The metal one holds a lot better. They're really stiff to where these here, you know, you can, I mean, it shows everything. But I'll use this just because it's easier to use and stuff. But right here's where that weird piece on the back of that plate goes. And what it is, you got a tab that fits up in here that basically holds, and it lays along this, and then your stud goes down through here, and you tighten up against that, because this is your adjustable slide that comes on the portaband. Like, you got a big piece, that's your adjustable slide, and your little 1032 set screws, they screw down against this right here. You can see where it's digging in, but it just stiffens everything up, makes it rigid, and it gives you a way to do a little tilt and make sure your blade's good and square. All right, guys, I'm gonna show you how I get my little funky angle. And you just slide her up in there. You may have to help it on that one piece that goes in there. As you can see, it gives you the full contour. A lot of trim guys use it in houses for like crown molding and stuff if you want to do the corner joints, but that's what it comes out to be. We'll see how close it is to mine. It's probably off just a little bit, but yeah, it's not too bad. Like I said, this area over here you really don't need that much, but you can lay that out. That'll give you your basic shape, because mine's probably a little long here. It gives you a little basic shape, and just cut it out with a cutoff wheel and stuff. And all right, guys, I'm gonna show you how quick this thing lines up. Pretty easy to go together. It just slides up and it goes over your stud that you have welded on right here on your little rest that's on the portaband. You have your washer, 1/4 inch. You don't need one this long. I need to cut this one off. 1/4 inch stud. Just run the nut up on it, snug it up. Now it still has a little slop, and this is what we ran into before we put the set screws in. So you need the set screws. And now you just go in right here. You can see how it's got a little bit of flop to it. You just go in here and tighten your little set screws up. And I'll show you the way I determined where my set screw holes were. All right, now that we got it tightened up, I mean, it's pretty rigid. That's the whole thing flopping now, but those little set screws really made the difference. I'm gonna show you real quick how we determined where we landed these bolts here, where we drilled and tapped these holes for them set screws. So I'm gonna get everything loosened up and I'm gonna show you how we measured for them. All right, to figure out where these, you're gonna need to drill these holes here for the set screws, is what we did is we come right here, right against it on your portaband, and what we're doing is we're marking the table right here to see the depth where this piece here is on it. So we'll pull this off. Let me loosen this bolt real quick. We got our mark where it is flush up against it. All you got to do is loosen your nut up, get your set screws loose, back that nut off the stud. You don't have to take these all the way out. We pulled them up just enough to where it'll just release. Like I said, it comes off that easy. Right here you see how far. This right here is where the front of the portaband is. So you can look, let me get you a better angle. By making that mark right here is where the edge that mark was. You remember we put on the table. So you just need to measure off of this point right here out. That's how much room you have ledge, because right here is where they land at on this piece. So just measure from that black mark on your table out. It don't matter as long as it's within this area here. Just measure out how far and drill and tap it. Put you some 1032 set screws in it. I'll pull one of them out. If you guys never seen a set screw and what they look like, I'll run one out of here. Okay, I'm gonna measure this real quick. Put it right up against that piece, and it looks like it's almost a 1/2 inch. So we know how much total we got to play with here. So we'll go up here and measure this real quick. I'll just show you. All right, guys, here's that mark we made. That was where the face of the portaband comes into it. So from here out, we have a 1/2 inch. Remember that shelf kind of done this number like that. So from that point out, we had a 1/2 inch. So you just want to make sure, and I drew it pretty close. So that right there is the end of the portaband here. So anywhere in this area here, you can drill and tap it. So this is what you have. That's underneath where the portaband would be. So like I said, anywhere in here, it really don't matter. Just pop you a couple holes. All right, guys, I'll give you my measurement from the cut line here. So that's about 9/16 to the center from right here. And we'll go from the center of that one to the center of this one. I like to always on these, I go on the 1 inch mark, just minus an inch off of it. So right now, that's exactly 1 inch center to center from here to here. So I'll lay a piece of tape so you can see the number. So from this line to the center line of the bolt is 9/16 of an inch. From the center line of this bolt to the center line of this bolt is exactly an inch. Double check it. Yep, that's 1 inch from here to here. So that's how you can lay yours out. Just find your distance where you got enough shelf to lay these out on, and that's it. So I'm gonna put this bad boy back together, and we're gonna chomp up some metal, and I'm gonna show you how good this works. I'm gonna do some aluminums, a piece of sheet metal, and maybe a fairly thick piece of steel. So see how good this thing works. There's your measurements. Here we go. Show you guys this before I forget about it. I'm going to show you one of these little 1032 set screws, and you'll just have to look at your chart to see what drill bit size. You just find your correct drill bit size and tap size, and just drill straight in it, tap right into this 1/4 inch plate. But that right there is your little 1030. Let me put it on this because it's got a little hex head on for the Allen wrench, and it has a little piece down here where it goes against the metal or whatever. But that's your little 1032. It's you might want to know the length of it. It's about 3/8 or so, right around 3/8. You could go 3/8 or maybe 1/2 inch you could use, I think. All right, let's get this thing together. We're gonna start cutting some metal now. Good and snugged up, or clamped down. And also I forgot to show you, this is what we use to put on the trigger. They make fancy little inline things that you have a foot pedal for. Swag Off-Road that makes tables like this, and they make a really nice one. They sell those little foot pedals go in line. I'll look online and see if I can find them. May throw one in the description, but it just goes in line and it makes a little foot pedal for you. But this here works pretty good. You just got to remember, you got to be careful because this thing does not cut off till you take this off. But I'll show you how we put it on. It seems to work. We've been doing it for 2 or 3 years, so let's get her going. All right, guys, just going to show you real quick now. You know, these things are variable speed, so the further you pull the trigger, the faster they go. So these are just little Irwin clamps that we use, and you just do them like that, and they suck in, or you can pull them in. They sell it like all the big box stores, like Lowe's, Home Depot, stuff like that, and you can adjust them in. That's what releases them. But this works good because it has such small increments that what we do is you just set it right here on this, and you can, I'll show you real quick before it's so noisy. You just barely squeeze it, and the further you squeeze it down, cut it off. That's all you do. So I got some 1/4 inch steel, some 1/4 inch aluminum, and some about 1/16 thick aluminum. I'm gonna show you how good it does with it. So we're gonna do the 1/4 inch steel first. You want some sort of a push stick, because if this thing slips as you're pushing in and you have your finger here, it'll split it just as fast as it does that. So I always use some kind of push stick, and be mindful of where your fingers are because it'll do a number on them. So here we go. 1/4 inch steel first. mean, that quick, it just plows through it. I mean, that works really good. Like I said, if you're making like shock brackets or anything, this is great. You can do, and it'll do long arcs. You can't do any really tight radiuses like this. You'd never be able to do that. Was done with a hole saw. But you can use hole saw. That's a little tip for you. You can use a hole saw. Like if you was gonna make some cool looking bracket that had a little swoosh to it, pop you a couple hole saws, and you can come in here and cut it right here and here, and make some neat little bracket like that. Just use cheap tools and stuff that most people have on hand, but I super recommend you building this thing. You'll use the mess out of it. Let's cut some aluminum and the other, and I'll give you a couple more angle shots so you can see how it works, and we'll wrap this video up. That's a pretty clean cut. We'll do the sheet metal. Of course, you know it's going to plow through it. I might do a little turn with it, and I'll go ahead and move you and get you set up at a different angle. Alright guys, hope y'all enjoyed this video. Make sure you go out and build one of these. I think you'll really enjoy it and get a lot of use out of it. Make sure you like, subscribe. God bless. We gone.